My previous video was to break the ice of all kinds of topics and briefly skim over information found during my research. It should have provided plenty of food for thought. Today I am going to start the first episode of a series of videos each focusing on a particular topic. Series 1, Episode 1. Does God exist? When I was young I firmly believed in God within a Christian faith. I remember like it was yesterday being 8 years old sitting at my window looking out and up to the sky, and I asked and begged God to help my granddad heal and survive his fight against cancer. 2 weeks later his life ended, along with my faith. Now being young I didn't sit and ponder at the cycle of life and the way in which the world works, I simply, for the first time asked upon my God for help and didn't get it. I felt betrayed at what I had been taught. The idea was that you believe and you pray and prayers are answered, that's what I thought. I didn't give religion much thought after that, until learning more about other religions in school and about all the different gods and deities. This, for me, confirmed that religions were unnecessary as all but one religion had to be wrong about the beliefs so which one was right, if any. Without previously labeling myself, I look back now and know I spent most of my life to date being an atheist. Now I consider myself an agnostic. We simply do not know for sure if there is a god or gods. The ancients believed in many things and most believed in sky gods who came down to give us knowledge among other things. Looking at the first known civilization, the Sumerians, wrote on thousands of cuneiform tablets about the Anunnaki who they say created humans to help or take over mining gold for their homes depleting atmosphere. As the Sumerians were the first civilization, their words lay heavy, as unless they have been misinterpreted or translated incorrectly, they have not been manipulated, falsified or doctored to suit certain agendas, unlike most religious texts that followed. Unless it is an elaborate story painstakingly tapped into thousands of soft clay blocks and cooked to harden so to last the ages, therein may lay truth within them. Zecharia Sitchin spent his lifelong career researching the Sumerians and wrote many books about his findings and his views and opinions. On the writings of these fascinating people. Many criticize his views but for many it resonates, myself included. That was until I discovered the flat earth. After all, the Anunnaki came from another planet called Nibiru, which has a vast elliptical orbit in our solar system. So here I am, a firm believer in the ancient texts and Zacharias' findings, and my world comes crashing to a halt. How can any of the writings be true if the Earth is flat and space and other planets do not exist, not in the way we knew anyway? I was stuck. Recently answered questions about human origin, how the moon was formed and where our ancestors' knowledge came from had been finally answered for me. Now what do I do? After researching the flat earth, the lies of NASA and others, on and off for well over 3 years, for a little while, I was at a stalemate. Until now, I reinterpreted my research from the perspective and knowledge of the flat earth and other findings such as Admiral Byrd's expeditions, publications such as the Iron Republic and Beyond the Poles. I hadn't found anyone looking at these topics from a flat earth perspective. All I heard was that if you believed in flat earth, you have to believe in God. Well, this is only partially true and only if you believe in the dome-like firmament and enclosed system most now believe in, which I am not saying is wrong. I on the other hand still think back at the Sumerians and their highly advanced civilization and their writings. In light of the truth about the earth, I endeavored to put the two together. Even if for my own sanity. Please note this is speculation but at this point, that is all one can do but with good reasoning and information behind it. The Sumerians believed that the Anunnaki came down from the heavens in fiery chariots to earth to mine for monatomic gold to help repair the atmosphere on Nibiru. Zecharia has already interpreted the heavens as the sky, the fiery chariots as flying craft. Falling in line with the flat earth and the publication World Beyond the Poles, what if we interpret their homeland Nibiru as a faraway area of land on the same level plane as our land's Earth? This book explains that all visual bodies within our sky are all part of the same plane and our atmosphere continues all along the same plane of existence. What if the Anunnaki are an older, more advanced civilization from an area of this plane where the atmosphere was damaged somehow? Monatomic gold is fine gold dust particles, that when scattered into the high atmosphere would reflect radiation from the sun. Imagine our own technology in 1,000 years. Now with that in mind it wouldn't be unachievable for a much older and advanced people to travel vast distances to find land with an abundance of gold, manipulate the primitive population's DNA or perhaps even grow new beings using their own DNA, but altering it so not to create a being as advanced or smart etc. as themselves. Think of a test tube baby with options. Create this being, as a sort of worker and to carry out the hard labor and once they have what they need, leave and maybe plant a few seeds in the minds of their worker people to guide them on their own path. For me, this resonates and fits the bill. So with this connection with the Anunnaki and the flat earth, the question still lingers, does God exist? As mentioned before, I am an agnostic and I believe with our current level of consciousness, we will never know if a God really truly exists. We can believe and have faith but never physically know. Since all this research and connections, it certainly is clear to me that this world has so much more to offer than meets the eye. Are there lands to the north with Mount Meru or the magnetic mountain, with the 4 rivers feeding our oceans, and the 4 winds feeding our atmosphere? Perhaps like the Norse mythology, we live within the tree of life. Asgard is at the top or center and Midgard, which is Earth, is along the path, with the other realms or areas are simply further along the path. Or perhaps it's more like a notion I recently seen, whereby this level of existence is a gigantic ice sheet, seemingly never ending, where light and heat sources have been placed all over, melting away the ice, revealing pockets of land and ocean for life to thrive, potentially each enclosed with its own firmament for protection from one another, or even to trap us in. This would be a perfect way for God or a higher being of consciousness to run tests to find the perfect level for life to thrive and for people to coexist with one another. One gigantic experiment of life. I picture a, for lack of a better word, cosmic plane with petri dishes of experiments with different parameters, different atmospheres, species and resources. Perhaps the Anunnaki are beings with higher consciousness and, as the Sumerians tell us, are our gods or creators. Or perhaps they are from a local pocket of land, where the technology grew enough for them to discover a way of traveling between these pockets of land, across the vastness of darkness and never-ending ice. Perhaps UFOs are visitors from outer lands, assessing our level of consciousness and technology, keeping tabs on our advancements. The mind boggles at the potential for this type of existence, as much or more than the idea and vastness of space with its vast emptiness and pockets of galaxies or planets. Then the concept isn't that far-fetched. The only difference is that the land is one, connected, built for purpose, not a cosmic fart causing calamities and accidental coincidences, with the necessity for magically bending water and invisible forces like gravity. This also confirms the necessity for the elites to keep the northern and southern extremities closed off, perhaps to hide the possible exits of this land area. I think at this stage much more research is required to start to answer some of these unknowns. Were any of these notions to be accurate or hold partial truth to our reality, then indeed a higher power exists. But perhaps God as a singular being is not the answer. One thing is for sure, consciousness connects all living things, therefore perhaps that is God. After all, it is said that God is within everything. Thank you for listening. Until next time, take care now, bye bye then.